Chicagoland Speedway was a 1.5 mile D-shaped oval that opened in 2001. Located in Joliet, Illinois, and built during NASCAR's infamous track expansion period, it was a mainstay on the NASCAR circuit for 19 consecutive seasons. It was also a mainstay for lower divisions as well, distinctively the now ARCA Menards series. ARCA, just like the Cup Series, also ran there for 19 consecutive seasons, usually making the stop in the later half of the schedule. While the Cup Series had 13 different winners in its 19 years there, ARCA was unique. In 19 races, in 19 years, ARCA had 19 winners. The first ever ARCA race at Chicagoland took place on September 1st, 2001, with the number 16 car of Tim Steele on the pole. On the outside pole is son and grandson of NASCAR champions Ned and Dale Jarrett, Jason Jarrett, and ARCA legend Frank Kimmel starts third. But of the 40 car field, one car outside the top 30 is the man that no one is expecting to win this race. Ed Berrier, who starts 34th, has been in the upper echelons of stock car racing for nearly 20 years. And up to this point, his only win came in a Busch race at Hickory in 1998. Berrier rolls off in his starting position and slowly works through the field, eventually taking the lead for the first time on lap 56. He battles all afternoon with Frank Kimmel and Jason Jarrett before making a pass with 6 to go on Kimmel to go ahead and win his first and only ARCA win of his career. After 2001, Berrier would only make one more start in the top division, the 2003 Daytona Truck Race, where he finished 13th for Kevin Harvick in the 6 car. The 2002 race took place again in the early part of September, this time with Chad Blunt on the pole. Frank Kimmel was again near the front, along with Jason Jarrett, who started 4th. But none of that mattered. Chad Blunt absolutely bulldozed the field that day, leading 120 of 134 laps. That'd be Chad's 3rd win in 2002, and lead him to a 2nd place points finish for the 2002 ARCA Menards season. He went on to Xfinity in 2003 part-time, before running various series from 2004 onwards. He would come back in 2005 to ARCA to win 4 more races, but after a 2010 Xfinity start at Las Vegas, Chad Blunt would never race in the top series of stock car racing again. 2003 saw Frank Kimmel on the pole with NASCAR veteran Greg Sacks to his outside. The average age of the starting top 5 saw an average of 41.6 years old, with the only person under the age of 38 being 21-year-old Christy Passmore. This day in 2003 saw Frank Kimmel and Greg Sacks exchange the lead multiple times, with Kimmel eventually prevailing, claiming his first victory after 2 years of close calls at the track. Kimmel would be the first to win both the championship and the Chicagoland race in the same year, as this would be the 4th of 8 consecutive championships for one of, if not the greatest driver in ARCA history. After 2 years of the pole sitter winning the race, pole sitter Stuart Kirby wouldn't be so lucky. On the opening lap, Kirby would crash out along with 2002 winner Chad Blunt. Eventually 2003 race winner Frank Kimmel would be taken on lap 35, leaving it up to almost anyone to win the 5th event here. After 10 cautions and nearly half the field being wrecked out, Kyle Krisiloff, driving for Rick Hendrick, came home victorious. That would be Krisiloff's only win in not just ARCA, but any top racing league, as he would be out of the sport by 2008. 2005 saw possibly the most random winner of them all. Joey Miller dominated the early part of the race, but Dwayne Bryan took the lead with about 30 to go and survived a green-white checker restart and late race assault by David Reagan to win what would be his only ARCA race in his 2nd start. Bryan ran a sparse ARCA schedule until 2008, where through that time he only got 2 more top 10s. 2006 was a trend back to more notable names. Stephen Wallace won the pole over Scott Lagasse Jr., and dominated much of the day, eventually coming up victorious with his 2nd win in 2006, and the 3rd win overall. Wallace was 19 at the time, making him the youngest winner at Chicagoland, and after the win, he went to Xfinity full-time from 2007 to 2011, struggling with his father's team before eventually stepping away from NASCAR to focus on other endeavors. 2007 is the first year with a winner that is still active in the top divisions of NASCAR. Michael McDowell won the pole over Jeremy Clements, and dominated the race, leading 98 of 134 laps, Mike McDowell is the first winner at Chicagoland in ARCA that went on to win a Cup race after their win there. Michael also went on to finish second points in ARCA for 2007, before going up to a part-time basis Cup schedule for 2008. Since 2008, he has run at least a part-time schedule in the Cup Series every year. Another Cup winner is on the pole for 2008. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. dominated the day, leading 67 of 136 laps, but was overwhelmed late by Scott Lagasse Jr. Lagasse got him with 12 to go, and survived a late race restart in order to win his second win of his ARCA career. That was Lagasse's first and only start in 2008. He would race part-time in various series up until 2020, never winning a top league race again. 2009 saw the race shortened to 150 miles for the first time, making it only a 100-lap race instead of 134. Brian Eichler won the pole with Jesse Smith to his outside, and Eichler dominated the opening part of the race, but was quickly caught and passed by Justin Lofton. Lofton and Eichler went back and forth until with 11 to go, Lofton would take the lead and fight desperately, holding off hard-charging Grant Enfinger to claim his 4th win of the season and 5th of his career. Lofton would be the second driver to win the race, and then go on to win the championship in ARCA. But Lofton could never find success in trucks when he moved up in 2010, and by 2014, he was out of the top divisions. He did make an ARCA West start in 2020 and came home 6th at Phoenix. 2010 was a pretty calm year in terms of action on the track. Craig Goose did win the pole, but only held the lead for 3 laps. Patrick Sheltra dominated and won the race, leading 85 of 100 laps. This was Sheltra's second win of 2010 and 3rd of his career. And for the 3rd time, it helped propel him, like Frank Kimmel and Justin Lofton, to win the championship. But sadly for Sheltra, he would never win another race again. 2011 had Josh Richards win the pole for the event, but Richards wouldn't have any involvement in who would win, as the race came down between Ty Dillon and Chad Hackenbrot. Those two fought back and forth with the lead, until Hackenbrot seemed to have the edge, until he crashed out with 16 to go. Ty Dillon, after some late race restarts, came home victorious, and for the 3rd consecutive year, and only the 4th time, the Chicagoland winner went on to win the title. Dillon in 2011 had 7 wins, and went to have a moderately successful truck and Xfinity career. He is currently tabbed to be driving the 42 car in Cup next year, for Petty GMS Racing. 2012 saw the first time in history somebody at Chicagoland led every lap. Kevin Swindell won the pole and dominated, leading 100 of 100 and capping off a venture-eating 1-2 with teammate Brendan Poole finishing 2nd. Swindell only ever won one more ARCA race and was out of the sport by 2014. As we progress to more recent times, names start to get more familiar. Ryan Blaney wins the pole for the 13th ARCA race at Chicagoland and is one of the favorites. Strategy plays poorly for him, however, and Blaney runs out of gas and loses his opportunity to win with 8 to go. With 7 to go, Justin Boston is trying to make it, just like Blaney, who came up 8 laps short. Boston is staying very slow on fuel mileage, trying to save as much as he can. Boston is still trying to make it, and as Corey LaJoie makes a pass for 2nd, Boston runs out of gas going into turn 3 coming to the white. Corey LaJoie would go on and win the race and hold off the 0-2 of Josh Williams. This would be LaJoie's first career victory in only a 2nd start, and help propel LaJoie to more success. LaJoie is now a Cup driver in 2022, driving for the number 7 car at Spire Motorsports. 2014 saw 27 cars take to Chicagoland. The late John West Townley was on the pole, and after only 2 laps, Spencer Gallagher took the lead and dominated the early portion of the event. Eventually, Justin Boston becomes a factor again this year, but Mason Mitchell comes through and wins, claiming what would be his first career victory. He then became the 5th person to go on and win the title and the race in the same season. But after 2014, only ran part-time ARCA before officially being out of the sport by 2018. Cody Coughlin was the pole winner in 2015, but fell back a few laps after the start. From 28th, Ryan Reed drove to the front and dominated the day, winning by over 6 seconds. Reed, of course, was the winner earlier in the season at the Xfinity Daytona race, and would go on to win a 2nd time in that event in 2017. Reed ran Xfinity full-time until 2018, and has only run sparsely since. In 2016, Shane Lee was the pole sitter, but only led 3 laps. The race was dominated by Chase Briscoe, who would go on to be the 6th driver to win this race and the championship in the same year. Briscoe, since his win there, has gone on to find success in many other series, and is now entering his 2nd season of Cup Series competition. 2017 had Brandon Jones win the pole for the event, and saw for the first time when the race was scheduled to 150 miles for it to go into overtime. Austin Terriault, Christopher Bell, and Ty Majeski dueled for the win, with Bell coming out on top. Bill would become the first driver to win an ARCA race at Chicagoland and a Top 3 Division Series championship when he won the truck title later in the season. Bill would then light up the Xfinity Series in 2018 and 2019, for going up the Cup and becoming only the second driver ever to win a Cup race after winning at Chicagoland and ARCA. Driving the 28 car, Sheldon Creed won the pole in 2018 with Zane Smith to his outside. Neither one of them would win, however, as Michael Self would dominate most of the day, and after a late race restart, he would become victorious. Self ran 2 more seasons in ARCA before retiring from driving to focus on other ventures. While it wasn't known at the time, 2019 was the last race at Chicagoland, at least for the foreseeable future. As the race unfolded, it eventually came down to Ty Majeski, and after leading 72 of 100 laps, Majeski became the 19th driver to win a race at the track in the ARCA Menards series. Majeski is still racing the top 3 divisions in 2022, and after nearly 2 decades, the weird trend at Chicago may now have no future. Although viewed as another 1.5 mile cookie cutter, Chicagoland had weird traits and distinct characteristics that set it different from the rest. And if the track may now be left to rot, at least its history will live on forever.